High stakes at play. Oh, man, we got a lot to talk about. Look at that. Whew. So let me go ahead and mute it. In round number 2, we're here real time, by the way. Let me just go ahead and show you. It'll be better that way. In round number 2, Tszyu suffered a mean, nasty cut when he leaned into the elbow of Sebastian Fundora. He was completely in control of the fight, but however, it was only the second round, so you can't really say completely in control. But he looked regularly like Tszyu, and that maybe with the pressure he was presenting and the accuracy of his punches, he could have possibly stopped or, you know, clearly won or outboxed Sebastian Fundora. Here's the cut. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. Tszyu fans, this is probably going to hurt. I know you guys are going to, you know, be in a little bit of a denial, but let me say this. Jabs are scoring punches. Some judges count it, some judges don't, but they are scoring punches. Here's the punch stats. Pause it if you have to. 175 of 400 for Tszyu. 194 of 721 for Sebastian Fundora, 44 to 27%. Power shots, 136 to 288, 101 to 284. 39 of 112 jabs, 93 of 437 for Sebastian Fundora. I believe that's how Sebastian Fundora has won this fight. I'm TstreeT Controversy with Fight View 360. Listen, I'm giving the fight to Sebastian Fundora. I think he did enough off the jab, and also, who was the ring general? Who looked like they were more in control for majority of the fight? It was Sebastian Fundora. You know what? I got to give him his credit. Despite the cut significantly changing the fight, in my opinion, or the trajectory of the fight, in my opinion, Sebastian Fundora, 26 years old, has finally fought the way that fighters, well, fans have been wanting him to fight by actually fighting tall. Let's listen in. These cards.
Judge at ringside, Steve Weisfeld, sees it 116-112 for Sebastian Fundora.
That's my card, 7-4, 7-5.
David Sutherland scores them out 115 to 113 in favor of the winner of the unified WBC and WBO 154-pound championship of the world, the towering Inferno, Sebastian Fundora.
He did it.
History has been made. The embrace, the first brother and sister to hold championships at the same time. Sebastian Fundora, from being knocked out to being on top of the world as the unified 154-pound champion. And for Tszyu, tasting defeat, having his head split open due to an errant elbow.
Let's mute it. He smelled blood, Sebastian Fundora, and he went out there and he got it. He jabbed. He used his height. He didn't stay in the pocket. He didn't try to trade. He took Tszyu's best shots, and he stuck to the game plan. He used his height, the 6'6", 80-inch reach. He used it. He won. Now, of course, we can go ahead and discredit him and say, oh, but you know the cut. But still, let's let him have his flowers. He won. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, even though I identify as being Mexican, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, you know, oh, well, let's listen in.
One thing we cannot question is your heart. After that cut, what kept you going?
Look, I told you, I'm an old throwback fighter. Whatever circumstance given, I couldn't see, but all credit belongs to the man who won tonight.
There was a lot of hope in your corner that you could actually stay in box. The blood obviously was hindering your sight, but you could still contact him. Was there any point where you said, I still got what it takes? I mean, a judge had you winning.
Yeah, you know what? These things happen. The momentum was rolling, swinging hard in the first two rounds, and then boom, you're blinded completely. So, look, this is boxing. This is part of the sport, and this thing happens. Congratulations to Fundora. He's the new king at the 154.
After this outstanding performance, because regardless of the cut, you still kept going, what is next for you?
Oh, look, we will bounce back.
Rematch.
the arena showed up. I showed up still, no matter what, and I always bring the fight. So you know what? I was given 1 week, no excuses, but you know what? I'll fight whoever, whenever. Even Errol Spence is here, I'll fight him as well. Even Terence Crawford, man. Y'all want a good scrap? You know who to call.
We're absolutely sure. You showed up wholeheartedly. Jordan?
He hurting.
Thank you, Claudia.
You can tell you want to cry. Damn,
Sebastian
Tszyu.
celebrating with his team as he should. Congratulations, you are now the unified 154-pound world champ. How surreal is this moment for you?
Like I told you in the locker room, we've been praying for this moment a long time. You know, I need it. And, you know, I'm just happy that Tszyu gave me the opportunity, and my opportunity came a dream come true.
There was a lot of blood in this fight. That was probably one of the bloodiest fights I've seen in boxing. How did you push through that? Your nose was dripping the entire time. What was going through your mind?
You know, the first round, I was like, damn, I didn't want to bleed my nose today. But, you know, my dad said it to our cut man. We've been bleeding our whole life, you know. This is boxing. You're going to get hurt. And you just got to be smart. And, again, I've been telling everybody this whole camp, I'm going to use my brain. I'm going to use my brain. I hope you guys saw me use my boxing skill today, and you enjoyed it.
And Tszyu is a world-class fighter. He came, he did not give up, even though that accidental elbow to the head happened. He kept coming. Were you surprised at all with his toughness and that the fight kept going?
Of course. He's a world-class fighter. He was a world champion for a reason. The way I won my belt, it's an honor to share the ring and make history with him.
And your sister Gabby is here tonight as well. She's a world champion. Now you guys are brother and sister who simultaneously hold world titles. What does that mean to you?
It means the world, you know. Now I think my dad's in a run for trainer of the year. He did this all in 6 months, you know. Without him, I wouldn't be anywhere. Without him, our whole family wouldn't be nowhere near boxing. So I'm very grateful, you know.
Now, you know, people always want to know what's next. You're celebrating being unified champion. But I have someone behind me right here who is interested in fighting you as well. Errol, come and join us right here.
This is some sucker shit right here.
What's going on?
Boom.
You said you would like to fight the winner of this fight. Well, here he is. What do you have to say?
Oh, it's time to get it on. He got the big dog now. Let's go.
Now, is this your first time seeing him in person? And what do you think about his height?
Yeah, it's my first time seeing him in person. I mean, he got a pretty good height, but we'll see. We'll break him down like we always do.
Was there anything you saw in his performance tonight
He gonna
that
get
made
the
you
fight
think,
too.
okay, I'm going to have to watch out for that?
I think he learned from his mistakes. He's a little bit more settled. He was using his distance, so I think he did pretty good.
Okay, and Sebastian, obviously I know you've seen Errol fight. What are your thoughts on a fight between you and him?
I think it'll be great. You know, he's one of the greats right now. He's one of the pound for pound. So if I can fight him and get a win off of him, it'll be good history for me again.
Well, maybe we'll see it this year. Thank you guys both. And Sebastian, congratulations. You are now the unified 154-pound world champion. Sebastian Fundora, everyone.
Well, with all due respect, Errol Spence Jr., a fight on such short notice, 12 days notice, going from a former unified welterweight champion in Keith Thurman, moving up an orthodox mobile fighter, and then agreeing to take on a 6'6" southpaw on 12 days notice. Yes, he did agree to do it. We saw the cut and taking nothing away from Sebastian Fundora, but I myself, I would like to see them run it back.
Let me go ahead and say I think there should be a rematch. From my understanding, there wasn't a rematch clause. I think they said that during the broadcast. But I think it should be a rematch. But I don't like how Errol Spence is just trying to sneak in the back door, you know, for a fight that should go to Crawford. Or maybe Crawford's no longer with PBC, or, you know, maybe, I don't know. But it's a bad look, you know, that he's going to try to, it's a bad look. And the thing is, he's an Al Heyman guy. So he's likely going to get the fight if Tszyu doesn't get a rematch. I think it should be a rematch, but Tszyu's clearly hurt. See, here's the thing. We can't discredit Fundora because he fought the fight that we didn't think he was going to fight. Also, Tszyu didn't go to the body like we thought he should. However, he was having issues getting there, but he was headhunting. And he could not do nothing with the jab. Even though, you know, the jabs were, they were connecting. They wasn't doing a lot of damage, but they were enough to disrupt and confuse the bleeding into his eyes of Tszyu. We can't, the cut, yes, we have to talk about it. And I know it's going to be a lot of whinging. I know we're going to see a lot of cards, but listen, Tszyu's not complaining. You didn't hear fans booing. The right man won tonight. It happens. It's boxing. And Tszyu's faced his first adversity. And I'm not saying from necessarily the skill set of Fundora. Yes, that was it too, the jab, but the cut and having to fight a fighter like this on 12 days notice. So I want to see it again. You know, I want to see it again. I'm hoping that they do it again. But now, boom, the plans of Tszyu have been blown up. We're going to listen to my colleague, Big J, see what he has to say. I don't even know where to begin now, because now that just turned the whole 154-pound division on its head. By the way, it is heavily speculated that Errol Spence is no longer with Derek James, so who's his trainer going to be? You have Bakram Murtazali taking on Jack Kuke. That's going to be next Saturday for the IBF title. That's a more significant fight than ever now. Israel Madrimov is the WBA. And, of course, now Sebastian Fundora has the WBC and the WBO, and Sergey Bohachuk is the WBC interim, and Jamel Charlo is the WBC champion in recess. Confusing, I know. But now you have Errol Spence up in the division, and then, wait a minute, I want to see what Terrence Crawford has to say, if he's going to say anything at all. But, you know, it's just, whew. You know, I'm kind of at a loss for words a little bit. Let's see what Terrence Crawford has to say, if he's saying anything at all. Because it was heavily speculated. Up, here we go. Here we go. Look, you lost, sir. Work your way back up. You know, Errol Spence trying to sneak in the back door on Fundora. And the thing is, I have a strong feeling he's going to get the fight. I think Spence, listen, he wouldn't be in the ring if Al Heyman didn't have a plan for him to get the fight. He wouldn't be in the ring. So let's talk about it. I say rematch, quick turnaround. It's not the type of cut that needs a long time to heal. It's on the top of his head. Stitches, boom. About 6 weeks or so, about 5-6 weeks or so. I say they run it back in July, you know, in August. You know, but you think that they're going to try to screw Tim over? Or you think that Tim's team would want to, like, go back to rebuilding back in Australia? I think they need to strike while the iron is hot, no tune-ups, run it back with Sebastian Fundora. Because Spence is already circling. The shark is circling. He's going to decline the rematch to fight Terrence Crawford, which could have happened at 154 pounds, by the way. Even though I feel that Crawford, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Crawford want it to happen at 147? But either way, and then you're going to try to, you know, take, like, for one, Terrence Crawford is the WBO mandatory. So this is going to be interesting to see how this works out, especially if Crawford decides to drag Sebastian Fundora into a purse bid or make him drop his belt. So it's so many different ways that this can go. And how does Errol Spence get into the mix? Let's hear what Big J has to say. What's going on? One, before we talk about this how this fight turned out, what do you think about Errol Spence trying to sneak into the back door?
Go off, Errol Spence. So he doesn't deserve. Where was Crawford?
Not there. You know,
where was Crawford?
Crawford posted on his social media, you lost, you got to work your way back up.
Exactly. I mean, but the thing is that PBC can make that fight and they'll make money because PBC has a lot of options now. Now they've got a PBC fighter back in with the world champion.
With
they
2
can brush
belts.
Tim aside, which is probably exactly what they'll do. They'll just brush Tim to the side. They'll be like, well, we don't need you anymore. Fuck off.
I think so, too, because Spence is a Heyman guy, and he wouldn't be in the ring if there wasn't a plan. I think that they're going to try to shoehorn him in, you know, and screw over Crawford and try to screw over Tszyu. But Tszyu didn't even talk about having the rematch. First, all right, let's back up. What did you think about the fight? Was it the cut or I want to hear your thoughts. What were your thoughts?
It was the cut. If it wasn't for that cut, Tim would have knocked him the fuck out inside of 6 rounds. You could see before that cut how easy Tim was just playing with him.
He couldn't stop the right hand. Fundora.
Yeah, Fundora couldn't stop shit. But Fundora, to his credit, once the cut happened, he fought a very smart fight and used his distance and won on points because there was no other way he was going to win. He wasn't going to knock Tim out. And people say, oh, that's a great win for Fundora. No, it's not. God handed him that one. The gods, whatever religious beliefs that you have, whoever's in charge, they handed him that because if it wasn't for that cut, he would have been on the canvas with his eyes rolling in the back of his head.
Well, happy Easter to Sebastian Fundora.
Exactly. So bloody, the bloody whatever powers to be that run the joint decided that he was going to win that fight by default because if it wasn't for that cut, Tim would have knocked his head off.
So here's my question to you. Fundora fought the fight that we didn't think he was going to fight. He fought tall. He used the distance and the jab. You didn't think that would have got him through later on in the fight?
Not without that cut, no, because Tim would have caved his ribs in and knocked his head off.
But Tim wasn't going to the body. He didn't go to the body.
Tim couldn't fucking see. I don't care how good of a fighter you are. You can't see, you can't fight.
Yeah.
And that's something that you cannot prepare for. There's no way in hell any fighter can prepare for what happened to Tim.
Yeah, that was his first adversity. For whatever reason, he failed.
Well, I wouldn't call out a failure because you can't see, you can't fight. I mean, how many fighters you reckon would have
It's the boxing game. He said it himself. Those things happen. Yeah, you got to adjust.
Exactly, but how many fighters do you think would have lasted the full 12 rounds through that?
Well, I already said that if it wasn't for the cut before you got on, that I was picking Tszyu. But, we can't discredit the fact that Sebastian Fundora finally fought to his height and used the jab that he's supposed to be using. He fought a very smart and technical fight. And the fact that you saw that he got a little bit more aggressive with the jab once Tszyu got cut. Like, it's almost like he knew, like, yeah, I got him. And, he never tried to trade with Tszyu. Yeah, he took some tough shots from Tszyu, but also he ate Tszyu's best shots even earlier in the fight.
Mm. Yeah, so I think that Fundora needs to move up because he's fighting all these short, stocky guys, right? Mendoza cleaned his clock. If Tszyu didn't get cut, he would have cleaned his clock. I think for his own health, he needs to move up because he's going to get friggin' battered. He's going to fight all these short, stocky guys that are just going to tear him apart.
Yeah, I don't know. I see the potential being high now, especially now that he's finally fighting as a 6'6" fighter using his jab. Yeah, he doesn't have any real pop on his punches. That's something he can hopefully work on. But his jab is a problem. Like, we finally seen it in full action.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, he finally fought the fight that he should have been fighting from the entire upset instead of fighting on the inside, which is a bloody stupid idea.
So this has been a horrible Easter weekend for the Aussies. Liam Wilson losing last night in a fight that basically he was having success in earlier. Mixer just got annihilated. And then Tszyu has this awful cut on the top of his head that causes him to go blind and lose his title and another title. And pretty much probably be kicked to the curb. It's almost like he didn't even call for the rematch. And it was a few times I was looking like, he was really upset, like he was about to cry. And it's like, and I'm wondering, we were talking about this before. Could this have been his last fight with PBC? We don't know. But
they'll kick him to the curb. What are they going to do with him now?
Yeah, exactly, because he didn't call for the rematch. And then they got Errol Spence in the ring calling out Fundora.
That's a friggin' embarrassment. But this is what PBC needed. Now they'll dominate the 154 division again. And you watch this. Charlo will come back and fight Spence. That's their plan.
Also, yeah, and even though Spence and Charlo are friends, I'm not sure how close of friends that they are, but they were stablemates. Errol Spence is no longer with Derek James, is the rumor. Remember, Jamel Charlo is with Derek James, so it's a fight that can happen. And then we also got Jack Coupe and Bakram Murtazaliev next week.
Well, I mean, that's Tszyu's way back in as to fight the winner of that. I mean, that will most likely
he need to put his foot down, no limit. Need to put their foot down and be like, listen, we got screwed over when Jamel fought Canelo. We want our rematch, even if it's not. Because I was hearing on the broadcast, I don't know if you have more news on this, but they were saying there's no rematch clause.
Well, that's bloody stupid. So, That's.
I think PBC should give it to him. I think they should run it back in July because the cut is on the top of his head. That ain't gonna take no time to heal.
No, exactly. So, the Crawford fight's out the window. That's not going to happen now. So,
I mean, know, right? Even if he does come back and beat Fundora, damn, yeah, that was devastating. But we talked about it. You know, no matter how he lost, a defeat is still devastating for the brand of Tszyu.
Yep, that's exactly right. I mean, the train has been derailed somewhat, but this is not the end. He can easily go and fight. What's the other bloke's name? What's the WBA? What's his name? Madrimov. He can go fight Bakram Matazaliev after he takes care of Joe Kokay. I mean, his father lost in '97 against Vince Phillips. It's not the bloody end of the world. So
yeah, but politically, it's not. But politically, you know how it's at the Game of Thrones out there. You know, I got the scorecards on the screen, by the way, for the viewers who want to watch. You know, it's I mean, unless he has that rematch clause, he can get right back. I don't think he should take no tune-up and fight nobody else. Try to go directly after Fundora again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just terrible. Like, and I wish I put money on Fundora because he was paying $5.30 because I just had a feeling that something was going to go wrong, and it did. And I mean, this is why, you know, to go overseas to have the Thurman fight, which would have been a fight against another blown-up welterweight, have that taken away, then get beaten, have one of the worst cuts I've ever seen. What would you think was worse, this cut or the one that Seniesa Johnson had against Susie? Because they're pretty close.
I think this man was feeling blood though, like, and you just get they was wiping it. It was in round 2.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably have to go to the hospital, get a blood transfusion.
He's got to contact the Red Cross, you know?
Exactly. He might have to get a bloody blood transfusion or whatever.
Like, so, it was gushing after every single, soon as it would be touched lightly, or, you know, they would clinch a little bit, it would just start gushing. He's constantly wiping, trying to defend himself. You know, that was an ugly cut. You know, I'm surprised, you know, that, you know, he didn't start showing any weakness later on in the fight.
No,
but let's not forget that Fundora was bleeding from his mouth the whole fight too.
Exactly. I mean, Tim, that couldn't have went any worse for Australia. I mean, Tim, this is in the worst possible way. An accidental elbow. There's no way in hell you could say that was intentional because Tim accidentally rammed his head down.
Yeah. I showed the replay.
Fundora's elbow. So, and then used to bleed like a sieve for 10 rounds, and Fundora to use his brain finally and just tap his way to victory, because on the Fundora side, it wasn't a spectacular victory because why couldn't he have knocked him out? The man couldn't see. He couldn't knock out someone that couldn't see.
No, but every now and then when he would throw those left hands, they would connect against Tszyu. You know, like they would be fast. It's just that you could tell he was afraid of being countered, so he stuck with what he knew, which was the jab. He stuck to the game plan.
Well, yeah, very smart game plan. Even the commentary team said it took a cut over someone's eye for him not to see to use his height and reach advantage. But this shit happens in boxing. This is boxing. Things happen. I mean, 116, 112. For Tim, I don't know what fight were they watching. So, I mean, I think 113, 115 to Fundora was the way it probably should have been scored. So, I mean, it was supposed to be the best, most significant weekend in Australian boxing history, and it just turned out to be a fucking nightmare. So,
yeah, no, it has been a nightmare.
Everyone's lost. Bloody Liam Wilson got his ass kicked. Mick's probably been bashed into retirement. Tszyu lost his belt in the friggin' worst way he could possibly lose it.
Yeah.
So, Taylor Robinson, she had a draw against the Mexican girl the other night. What else is happening?
We got Kambosos who's likely going to get battered.
Let's not go that
he's
far.
going to be. I think Loma going to batter him.
Yeah, well, Sky Nicholson's got her fight next week, and she'll probably get her ass handed to her.
Yeah, there you go. So, oh my God, so that's a 2-week stretch. You're probably, it's rough for you guys. Now, I mean, you know, depending on what Tszyu decides to do, maybe. I mean, I for some reason I kind of agree with you. I think that PBC is going to try to screw him over. You know, and shoehorn Spence in there. Spence, I'm telling you, Spence would not be in that ring and announced that he was gone if it wasn't, and if it wasn't for him fight the winner. Like, I'm sorry, like, I see it.
Exactly. As we said before, the Tszyu versus Crawford's a bigger fight for PBC, but Crawford's not with PBC. He's a free agent.
Yeah.
So this is PBC's opportunity to take back the 154 division, dominating it for so long. So now they got it back. They'll brush Tszyu. I guarantee it. He ain't going to get the rematch. They'll figure out some way to screw.
Yeah, but also, it's mandatories because not only did Tszyu have the mandatory in Crawford, but then Fundora got the mandatory with Bochuk. So Tszyu is kind of out. Like, this.
Here's a question for you. Honest question. Who do you think had a better resume before this fight, Tszyu or Fundora?
Let me see real quick. I'm going to say right now Fundora.
I think Fundora because, as I said, if you look at Tszyu's resume, it's full of has-beens and never will-be's. Brian Mendoza, he's a never will-be. He got his ass handed to him twice. He's done. So he'll get brushed
and
to the side.
And Tszyu for Ocampo after
never will be.
Yeah, after he beat him. Yeah, and Lubin and Sergio Garcia was a credible name too.
Yeah, so I mean, as I said, the Aussies have a very bad habit of fighting on domestic level, going overseas,
disastrous.
Not fighting anyone in between. But Tim did. He fought plenty of guys in between before he took his world title fight. Right, and remember the belt was given to him. He never beat Charlo for it.
Yeah, so and remember, Michael Dumed Kurbanov was screwed because Tszyu was more popular. The WBO picked him because he was more popular.
But he got his shot and he folded. So
yeah, but that was 2 years later.
3 years later. Well, poor old Bakram Adzai has been waiting 4 years.
Yeah.
I think that's Tszyu's next opportunity is to go after Murtazaliev if he wins, which he most likely will, and have that Russian super fight he's always wanted and having in Australia. Because as I said, I don't know why the hell he wants to fight in Vegas. Why would he? I mean, I kept on warning against it. I said it's not a good idea to go over to Vegas, and yet again I was proven right. So it turned out to be a complete friggin' nightmare. Everything turned to shit. So I mean, I don't. As I said, there's still the WBA champ, there's still the IBF title he can go after. He's not done. I mean, anyone says that says
he's not done. It's just that it's a devastating defeat in regards to the political landscape of the 154-pound division. This game, especially with no rematch clause and with there being mandatories for both of those belts that he just lost, because let's be honest, he should have already been the WBC champion. Now there's mandatories that are in the way that can potentially stop him from getting his immediate rematch, especially now that Crawford is the mandatory. It all relies on Crawford now.
We'll chase the other two belts. Don't worry about the WBA, WBC. Go get the IBF and the WBA. No problem.
Yeah, but they got to be there, But politics, for example, Israel Madrimov, he's a matchroom fighter. So both of those fighters, all three of those fighters, Israel Madrimov, Bakram Murtazaliev, and Jack Huquet, they know how important those belts are. As far as, for Tim Tszyu, Terrence Crawford, and guys like Errol Spence. So rest assured that their management and promotional teams are going to be playing hardball. So who's to say that Tim Tszyu is going to be able to get those guys, especially if because Tim Tszyu's back on level playing field. Will those guys go to Australia? Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll play hardball. I know Israel Madrimov may play hardball. He's a matchroom fighter.
Well, I mean, if Eddie actually wants to crack the Australian market, there's the perfect opportunity to do it. So,
yeah, but we don't know. But we don't know what Tim Tszyu's promotional situation is with PBC, and if No Limit and Matchroom play nice together, we just don't know.
That's perfectly right, because I don't think No Limit has any affiliation with Matchroom at all.
Exactly, because they got that affiliation with Ace Boxing, meaning Matchroom.
Yeah. That's right.
That's why I was saying, the political implications of this loss for Tim Tszyu can be potentially devastating.
It's absolute fucking nightmare. That's for bloody sure. And it's the weekend couldn't have turned out worse. We're 0 for 3. So Yep. So, and yeah, I mean, Tim will be back. I have no doubt he'll get a belt back at some stage. It'll be probably within the next 12 to 18 months. It won't be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And, he'll probably, I mean, he'll go back and pick up more belts. I mean, once, Fundora will probably fight Spence. I mean, that's definitely probably going to happen. Depends on what Crawford's going to do. Maybe Crawford will wait for Spence to fight Fundora, then fight Spence again and kick the shit out of him again. Who knows?
Or Fundora. See, the PBC has a very checkered relationship with the WBO. You know, they don't pursue the WBO unless it's like for undisputed or for some political gain. So I wouldn't be surprised if Fundora drops the WBO and fights Spence, you know, for the WBC. I would not be surprised.
Well, that means then Tszyu fights Crawford for the
they could order it. Yeah, that can happen.
And that'll happen. How quickly you think the WBA will jump on that?
They would.
Pretty bloody quick.
They love both of them,
exactly.
Tszyu and Crawford.
Exactly. And once you get Bob Arum into the mix, bang, problem solved. So
yeah, we'll have to see.
Problem solved.
Closing thoughts?
Well, it's a pretty fucking shit-ass, devastating weekend for Australian boxing, but, shit happens. Everyone just needs to take a breath and go, well, that didn't turn out the way we want, but, we'll live to fight another day. Happy Easter to everyone, and we will be back.
Yeah, we got to talk about next week on the Australian Boxing Podcast. It's going to be a long episode because now we got the Maloney, Sky Nicholson, and Kambosos, who's got to right the ship now for Australian boxing, especially after in a 24-hour period, three Australians lost in 3 world title fights with a total of 4 belts on the line. Like, wild. You know, so talk about a nightmare. You can follow Big J on Twitter at OldMakeBigJ. You can follow me on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.